Hey, what is up guys, MKBHD here, and wrapping up a busy Techtober that might sort of bleed into November a little bit. Apple just held today their second fall event in New York City for some of their most creative products. I was just there, just got back. We got to see the return of the MacBook Air, which was, you could say, long overdue, but it's even thinner than the original, but has a much better display and better internals, so that gets added to the lineup. And they also dropped a new space gray Mac Mini, again, which was super long overdue, but with much improved power and I/O, so that's interesting. But by far the highlight of the show was the last announcement, which was the brand new iPad Pro. This had a lot of really interesting things to me, so when we wrapped up, we all got to go to this hands-on area. I spent my time in that area with the iPad Pro. So first thing you notice when you get it in the hand, this is a complete redesign, and we were waiting for this, basically a refresh to make these iPads look more modern and kind of like new iPhones, if you will, and I think they've succeeded. There's two sizes still, an 11-inch screen or a 12.9-inch screen, and thanks to much thinner bezels, as you can see on all four sides, the 11-inch one is the same footprint as the previous 10.5-inch iPad, and the new 12.9-inch has the shrunken bezels to be now smaller. And it's this super boxy shape, like the sides are almost kind of sharp to hold like a MacBook Pro. And the entire chassis is 5.9 millimeters thick, which is ridiculous. I don't know if the battery is going to suffer for this thinness, but it's very striking to look at and to hold, and it just kind of feels like you're holding a display. In fact, it is so thin, it now has a camera bump, which kind of ruins the possibility of it being like this completely flat tablet on a flat surface. Also makes me question why even keep the camera in the tablet, but people still use it to scan documents and things like that, so it's still there. And just the whole thing is so flat and boxy, which I really like. It looks better in person to me than the slopier, softer corners of the old iPads. It's still an LCD panel, but it's still a very high resolution. It's also still that taller aspect ratio, so apps will be fine. But yeah, the entire iPad with the antenna lines and the speaker grill cutouts and the flat edges that can literally stand it up by itself like that iPhone 5 and 5S, in this new shell, it just feels very new. There's also now no home button, so just Face ID, but Face ID that works in any orientation, so no matter how you hold the tablet, it will unlock, which is dope. And new internals, so it has a brand new A12X Bionic chip with an 8-core CPU and 7-core GPU. Again, a 7-nanometer chip, and it's got to be powerful enough to push all these pixels, but the iPad Pro I already used felt fast, so it's kind of hard to imagine this one being even faster, but it is. Can't forget about that 120 hertz refresh rate also, that's still here. And there's also now more internal storage starting at 64 gigs and going all the way up to a terabyte if you're into that. And then the shocker to me, this is, I did not see this coming at all, is this new iPads have USB Type-C. Yes, USB-C in an iPad Pro already. So you can plug in USB-C accessories, you charge by USB-C, and you can even now plug into an iPhone and charge that with the iPad's battery over USB-C. So clearly Apple sees the benefits of this port in their Pro tablet. But wow, that is definitely a lot earlier than I thought I'd ever be able to say we'd have an iPad with USB-C. I'm not saying it's giving me hope for some other Apple products to get USB-C, as much as I want a USB-C all the things, but I'd say my hope level for a new iPhone with USB-C just went from like 0% to 1%, so that's good. Also, you might remember the Apple Pencil and the really unfortunate charging situation with Lightning in the old iPad Pro. Well, with no Lightning port, that's obviously gonna have to change. Instead, this is way better. The new Apple Pencil has magnets and a flat side and a dedicated spot on the side of the iPad Pro where it just snaps on, pairs, and wirelessly charges right there. Way better than the last one. Plus, the new Pencil now has a touch-sensitive area at the bottom that supports taps and double taps, so you can double tap in the Notes app, for example, to switch between the tools and the eraser. And it looks like third-party apps will be able to support this too when it comes out, so there was a Photoshop demo on stage that used this tapping for zoom. And there's also a new smart keyboard case, of course. I'm not the biggest keyboard user with my tablet, but I know a lot of people out there are. So the one thing that's missing, and you've probably noticed it by now by how many times I've turned the tablet around, there is no headphone jack. Just USB-C is the only port on the new iPad Pro. No headphone jack. And look, with a tablet, I think there's obviously enough space in a tablet to just toss in a headphone jack. With Apple, it's not really about the space anymore. It's just about them systematically throughout their lineup getting rid of the headphone jack where we don't seem to need it anymore. So we'll see them keep it around longer in like desktops and laptops and places where it's definitely more often used. But yeah, this is a bummer for if you're like a DJ who relied on having a headphone jack in the iPad, or if you're a music editor or a video editor on the iPad Pro. You'll probably want to go pick up the old one. But this isn't a deal breaker for me. I'm already kind of a wireless person anyway, and also for when you're at home, the speakers are usually pretty good. So overall, my thoughts, just from the first impressions of holding it, this is the best tablet on the planet. And it's not like that's a surprise, because the iPad is one of pretty much 3 tablets that are actually still worth buying. But for me, like when new tablets come out, like when the Pixel Slate came out, for example, I immediately just start to stack it up to the iPad. Like, can you take sales from the iPad if you beat it? If you don't beat it, no one's going to buy it. And it kind of feels like with this new iPad Pro, that gap just got even wider for everyone to catch up to. So I'm pretty pumped about it. I'm going to be picking one up. It's also going to be expensive, like the iPad Pro has been for a while. It's going to be starting at $799 for 64 gigs. And you can go on Apple's site right now and you can spec all the way up to $1,899 for a 1 terabyte 12.9 inch iPad Pro with LTE, just for fun, I guess. But let me know what you guys want to see in the full review. I'm going to be getting my hands on this soon and putting it through its paces. So make sure you're subscribed already if you're not, to see that when it comes out. Either way, thanks for watching this first impressions. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.